Hello and welcome to this Your Lent Assembly. The theme of our assembly today is Blessed are the Peacemakers. We can take this time out of our learning, out of our everyday lives outside of college, and just stop for a moment. Stop and reflect and think of how we can be a peacemaker. There is a new series on Sky. I don't know if you've come across it, with the wrestler John Cena in it, called The Peacemaker. We're not asking you to be John Cena. We are asking you to give of yourself positively, non-violently, and to just kind of give to other people. During Lent, Christians are encouraged to do three things. They're encouraged to pray, to fast, and to give alms. And that's giving alms as in giving something away. That could be their time. It could be money, giving to charity. It could be giving of items, just as you wonderful students and staff did for the Ukraine appeal. So enjoy this assembly. Please take from it what you can. There will be different themes in this assembly, but essentially they all will lead back to being a peacemaker, making a difference to the world, making a difference to the people around you, and making a difference to yourself as an individual human being.
The word peace is common in most languages. People can talk about peace treaties or times of peace. It means the absence of war. And in the Bible, the word peace can refer to the absence of conflict, but it also points to the presence of something better in its place. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word for peace is shalom. And in the New Testament, the Greek word is eirene. The most basic meaning of shalom is complete or whole. The word can refer to a stone that has a perfect, whole shape with no cracks. It can also refer to a completed stone wall that has no gaps and no missing bricks. Shalom refers to something that's complex with lots of pieces that's in a state of completeness, wholeness. It's like Job, who says his tents are in a state of shalom because he counted his flock and no animals are missing. This is why shalom can refer to a person's well-being. Like when David visited his brothers on the battlefield, he asked about their shalom. The core idea is that life is complex, full of moving parts and relationships and situations, and when any of these is out of alignment or missing, your shalom breaks down. Life is no longer whole, it needs to be restored. In fact, that's the basic meaning of shalom when you use it as a verb. To bring shalom literally means to make complete or restore. So Solomon brings shalom to the unfinished temple when he completes it. Or if your animal accidentally damages your neighbor's field, you shalom them by giving them a complete repayment for their loss. You take what's missing and you restore it to wholeness. The same goes for human relationships. In the book of Proverbs, to reconcile and heal a broken relationship is to bring shalom. And when rival kingdoms make shalom in the Bible, it doesn't just mean they stop fighting, it also means they start working together for each other's benefit. This state of shalom is what Israel's kings were supposed to cultivate, and it rarely happened. So the prophet Isaiah, he looked forward to a future king, a prince of shalom. And his reign would bring shalom with no end. A time when God would make a covenant of shalom with his people and make right all wrongs and heal all that's been broken. This is why Jesus' birth in the New Testament was announced as the arrival of eirene. Remember, that's the Greek word for peace. Jesus came to offer his peace to others, like when he said to his followers, "My peace I give to you all." The apostles claimed that Jesus made peace between messed up humans and God when he died and rose from the dead. The idea is that he restored to wholeness the broken relationship between humans and their creator. This is why the Apostle Paul can say Jesus himself is our eirene. He was the whole complete human that I am made to be, but have failed to be. And now he gives me his life as a gift. And this means that Jesus' followers are now called to create peace. Paul instructed local churches to keep their unity through the bond of peace, which requires humility and patience and bearing with others in love. Becoming people of peace means participating in the life of Jesus, who reconciled all things in heaven and earth, restoring peace through his death and resurrection. So peace takes a lot of work, because it's not just the absence of conflict. True peace requires taking what's broken and restoring it to wholeness, whether it's in our lives, our relationships, or in our world. And that's the rich biblical concept of peace.
The longing for peace is certainly a common human experience. Despite the undeniable history of warfare amongst people across the world, there's also been a rich, equally committed history of peace movements. You only need to turn the TV on to see the headline news of the impact of the current war in Ukraine and those more long-standing devastating images from Yemen, South Sudan and still Syria, to name a few. To see the toll that the war takes on the ordinary civilians is heartbreaking, and every single impact is a tragedy. One long-standing peace movement is Pax Christi. This is a Catholic peace movement whose vision is a world where people can live in peace without fear of violence in any form. Pax Christi means the peace of Christ, and the flag that you see behind me here is the flag that Pax Christi use. It aims to promote a culture of peace where people naturally make choices that foster respect for others, compassion, justice and solidarity. They also aim to provide solutions to conflict and tension, and to empower people to engage in dialogue rather than force. Pax Christi were formed in 1945 after the Second World War and adopted the rainbow flag as one of their symbols. Biblically, the rainbow is a sign of God's mercy and peace, and most famously appears in a story common to Jews, Christians and Muslims after Noah and the Great Flood. The rainbow is also used today to represent diversity and the desire for peace amongst people of all colours, shapes, sizes, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, and so on, and the hope for coexistence and an end to hostility against people different to oneself.
"75 years ago, the world was covered in wreckage and ash. 85 million dead. 200,000 from Hiroshima and Nagasaki alone. A tenuous peace set in against the backdrop of destruction and death. While the world still simmered from war, two ordinary people nurtured an extraordinary hope. A movement grew, planting seeds of reconciliation, nonviolence, hope, and peace. In 75 years, no challenge has been too big or too small for the courageous and dedicated people who make up Pax Christi International. From all corners of the world, villages and cities, valleys, and mountains. We are there. From grassroots projects to international treaties, we are there. From lasting peace for Israel-Palestine to a ban on nuclear weapons, we are there. From local partners to global networks, we are there. Together we strive. Together we celebrate. Let's build peace together.
Let's build peace together.
Tayo ay magtulungan tungo sa kapayapaan.
Magkahiusa tatanan para sa pagtukod sa kalinaw.
Tiempos difíciles, pero tenemos que seguir juntos construyendo la paz.
一緒に平和を作ろう。
Let's build peace together.
Pamoja tudumishe amani.
Construisons la paix ensemble.
Takpachamarka, sumahakanya yachapanyani.
Pamoja tudumishe amani.
Laten we samen vrede maken.
معاً لنبني سلاماً عادلاً.
Construyamos la paz. Juntos.
Давайте строить мир вместе.
Wake amahoro kwesehami.
Let's build peace together.
Totunga kimia e longo.
Nakpo shinshi kola.
Mayanchis huk allin kausaita taripasu.
Me whakamana te rangimarie e tātou.
Gadewch i ni adeiladu heddwch gyda'n gilydd. Let's build peace together.
Where do we go from here is a really good question. According to a 2019 report released by the Institute of Economics and Peace, peace brings prosperity. Yet the Institute calculated that in 2019 alone, just under £11 trillion was spent on conflict. That's around £3.80 for every person on the planet. Aside from the monetary value of peace, there are obvious human benefits of living in a peaceful world, in an environment where every kind can flourish. As Mrs. Hindman said, within humanity, despite all the conflict, there is a longing for peace. In 2019, I was fortunate enough to visit the Hiroshima Peace Center and Memorial Park in Japan. The centre is very clear in its goals. In their response to where do we go from here, they want to alert people to the horrors of the consequences of nuclear war and build a future free of nuclear weapons. In the grounds of the park stands a statue of a young girl. It is a monument for peace to commemorate Sadako Sasaki and the thousands of child victims killed from the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Here is Sadako Sasaki's story.
There is an interesting way to getting your wish granted, but it isn't as easy as just wishing on a shooting star. It is a task that requires patience, dedication, and a lot of paper. In Japan, crane is considered as a mystical animal that is believed to live for 1,000 years. Because of this, it became a symbol of good luck and a long life. Anyone who follows 1,000 paper crane will be granted a wish. Sadako Sasaki was 2 years old when the world's first atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Over the course of the next 10 years, Sadako developed leukemia. While hospitalized, Sadako began to make paper crane. She wrote, 私はあなたのツバメの上に平和を描きます。そしてあなたが世界中を飛ぶだろう。 the disease claimed her life at the age 12. Sadako's story, however, remains very much alive. On August 6, we celebrate Sadako Peace Day to pay tribute to victim of the 1945 atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and reflect on the past and build future free of nuclear weapons.
For Muslim students, the month of Ramadan began this weekend just gone, and so many of you will now be fasting. Like Lent for Christians, Ramadan is a period of fasting, prayer and charity. And after the Easter holidays, we will be fundraising for a charity that's working in Yemen, delivering humanitarian aid for the many victims of the war there. In case you didn't know, Islam itself means peace. It refers to the peace gained through the submission to God, and peace is a very important virtue within Islam. Muslims and Christians share a common thread in the Prophet Isa, who is Jesus for Christians, who preached a message of peace in Palestine 2,000 years ago. So we're going to hear from Zain, a student who has written a poem about peace.
Hi, I'm Zen, and I'll be reading a poem titled A Realm of Chaotic Peace, written by me. What is peace? A term we use to tease the wounded world we live in. A world stranded in eternal chaos. A world with war after war, death after death. We live and neglect as if we are eternal. But let me repeat, it is only the chaos that is eternal. We choose what lives, we choose what dies. Then why don't we choose peace? When there is no price we pay for peace. We choose wealth, not freedom, and that is where our fault lies. Though, when the soul yearns for peace, it is granted for eternity. We cannot disregard chaos, as without it, we would not have peace, as there is no hero without a tragedy. Let me repeat, there is no peace without atrocity. Thank you so much for listening.
For our final blessing and to end our assembly time together, the students will now read out the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes came from Jesus, and he first spoke these words in what's called the Sermon on the Mount, a biblical collection of religious teachings and ethical sayings. It's found in Matthew's Gospel in chapters 5 to 7, and the sermon was addressed to the disciples and a large crowd of listeners to guide them in a life of discipline based on a new law of love, even to enemies.
Blessed are the poor in spirit,
for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn,
for they shall be comforted.
Blessed are the meek,
for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who are hungry and thirst after righteousness,
for they shall be satisfied.
Blessed are the merciful,
for they shall obtain mercy.
Blessed are the pure in heart,
for they shall see God.
Blessed are the peacemakers,
for they shall be called children of God. Blessed are those who suffer persecution for righteousness' sake,
for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.